When people hear the word socialism in America, they've been trained to recoil. They've been told it's foreign, dangerous, un-American. They've been told it belongs to the Soviets, to dictators, to enemies of freedom. But the truth is the exact opposite. Socialism at its core is as American as apple pie. Not because it imitates some foreign ideology, but because it flows directly from the principles this country was founded on. Liberty, equality, and dignity. Those are not alien ideas, they're the bedrock of the Enlightenment, the same Enlightenment that gave birth to the American Revolution. The Revolution wasn't fought for the right to be ruled by a different king. It was fought for self-determination, for the belief that no man is born a master and no man is born a slave. That governments derive their legitimacy from the consent of the governed and that power exists to serve the people, not the other way around. That is Enlightenment thought. That is where America came from. And that is the same soil that socialism grows out of. Think about Thomas Paine, the radical pamphleteer of the Revolution. He didn't just call for independence. He argued for basic income, long before anyone used that term. He understood that liberty without material security is hollow. A man who doesn't know where his next meal comes from, who has no roof over his head, who is forced to sell his labor just to survive, is not free. He's at the mercy of necessity. Paine knew that if liberty was to mean anything, it had to be built on a foundation of economic dignity. That's not communism imported from Moscow. That's the American Revolution unfinished. The French revolutionaries, our Enlightenment cousins, understood the same thing. They didn't just cry liberty. They tied it to equality and fraternity because they knew liberty can't exist in isolation. My freedom is meaningless if yours can be stripped away. My dignity is nothing if it rests on your subjugation. That is the heart of socialism, the recognition that liberty must be secured for all or it is secured for none. Now, fast forward to today. What do we see in America? We see a people who are told they are free, yet live paycheck to paycheck. We see landlords who can throw families out on the street with the stroke of a pen. We see employers who claim ownership over a person's time, down to the minute, while workers beg for health care that could vanish if they lose their job. That is not freedom. That is servitude dressed up as choice. And it's exactly the kind of system the Enlightenment warned us about. Power concentrated in the hands of the few, masked by slogans about liberty. That's why socialism is not the enemy of American values. It's their fulfillment, because socialism, stripped to its essence, is the people owning the means of production. And what does that mean in practical human terms? It means you own your own life. You own your labor. You own the tools you need to flourish. It means your survival is not dependent on submitting to the dictates of an oligarch, a boss, or a landlord. It is liberty made real, liberty matured, liberty given structure so it can endure. The right has stolen the word liberty and hollowed it out, turning it into license for oligarchs to exploit. The authoritarian left has stolen the word equality and warped it into obedience to the state. Enlightenment socialism cuts through both lies. It says liberty, dignity, and equality are not in conflict. They are the same project, the project of building systems that expand freedom, not shrink it. The project of designing infrastructure so that its natural function, its outcome in practice, is liberty for everyone. That's why I call it liberation infrastructure, housing that ends precarity, workweek reductions that give people their lives back, healthcare that frees people from medical debt, education that empowers rather than indoctrinates. These are not handouts. These are the material conditions that make liberty possible. Without them, freedom is a slogan. With them, freedom is the air we breathe. And the key is that none of this is foreign. None of this is imported. The Enlightenment was the foundation of America. The Revolution was its first trial. What I am arguing is not the overthrow of that project. It's its completion. The founders spoke of liberty, but excluded women, slaves, and the poor. The French spoke of equality, but fell back into empire. The Enlightenment vision was never fully realized. Socialism is the next chapter in that story, the point where liberty stops being provisional and becomes universal. So when someone says socialism is un-American, ask them what's more American than finishing what the revolution started? What's more American than securing sovereignty not just for the wealthy, but for every person? What's more American than taking the principles of liberty, equality, and dignity and making them the foundations of daily life, not just lofty words on parchment? This is why I say socialism is as American as apple pie, because apple pie is not about the ingredients. It's about the tradition, the heritage, the sense of belonging. Socialism is the same. It's not about foreign dogmas. It's about taking what was baked into America from the very beginning, Enlightenment liberty, and finally serving it to everyone at the table. Liberty is only safe when it belongs to everyone, secured by systems that cannot be sold off, stolen, or stripped away. That's the promise of Enlightenment socialism. Not a rejection of America, but its renewal. Not an abandonment of liberty, but its protection. Not a foreign ideology, but the natural evolution of the American experiment. And if America truly wants to live up to the ideals it was founded on, then socialism isn't just compatible with its story. It's the only way to finish it.